Hey everyone, Scott from Sherpa Equipment Co. here today. Here to talk about the PAK System install. Behind me I've got a 2nd gen Tacoma, which falls under the bed rail category of our PAK System, but I'll also be talking about the clamp style, which applies to like Jeep Gladiators. Just real quick, I want to talk about what comes in the kit. So we've got our side plates, got our extrusion crossbars, our sheet metal crossbars, our rack height towers, and with the standard kit you'll have the standard accessory brace, but for today I have the XL accessory panels, which is an accessory on our website. Those will install pretty much the same way, so the same steps apply. We've also got our chair brackets, our brand plate, and you've got 2 options, whichever color you want to go behind our brand plate. You've got silver and you've got orange. For this specific install, we've also got our double bed nut here and all of our hardware that comes with the bed rack. All right, and for today's install, we have a few tools. Got a 5/32 Allen key, 13mm wrench, 14mm wrench, and I got a 7/16 socket. Before we start, let's talk about what kind of hardware is going to come with your PAK system. This is the 1/4-20 stuff. It's the smallest diameter bolt, smallest nylock, and the smallest washer. Then we have our 5/16 stuff. It's going to be the middle child here, so slightly larger washer, slightly larger nylock, and the threads on the carriage bolts are going to be larger as well. And then for the bed nut style PAK system, you've got the largest washer here, your double bed nut, and this hex bolt. That's your 3/8 thread bolt. And for the clamp style, you've got the 5/16 by 2-inch carriage bolt, same nylock nut here, and your 5/16 washer, and then your clamp that has, I think, edge trim on it. All right, so our first step is going to be running our 5/16 by 1 carriage bolts through a tower into our chair bracket. So we've already got 2 in here. Let's see if I can get the other 2. Boom, bang. Then we've got our 5/16 washers. Those also go on. I'm going to go ahead and do just one side, grab our anti-seize, get a little booger on there. Not too much, but we do send quite a bit, so don't be scared to use a lot. Then we've got our 5/16 nylock. Run it on, maybe get a little anti-seize going there. Same thing with this one. Cool. And then we'll go to this side. Oop. Couple more. Just like that. Cool. And then what we're going to do is tighten these down just so they're just pretty much snug. We're not going to go all the way with them right now. At this point, you want the chair bracket to be able to wiggle a little bit, but we'll go ahead and tighten these down a little bit more.
Three hours later.
For this next step, we're going to be installing the towers to the crossbar. You'll use this slot if you want to do a flush install so that this surface is flush with the extrusion crossbars. If you have a tent, you'll use this one just so that this sits an inch higher than the extrusion crossbars. So all that weight is going through just these stronger crossbars. So when you're installing the towers to the crossbars, sometimes the fitment's a little tight. So what I like to do is just get the tower like this and just kind of slide that crossbar in. 2 carriage bolts in there, 2 washers on this side, a little bit of anti-seize, and then those same nylocks you're gonna be putting on there as well. All right, so I've got both towers on the crossbar. We've got these carriage bolts running through with the nylocks, and everything is still like snug, but still loose, so that when we put it on the truck, we can move things around as we need. So I've got my tower and crossbar assemblies done. Before we throw those on the truck, we'll go ahead and take our double bolt bed nut here and slide it in through the rail here. One on this end, and we've got one on the other end. And just make sure that this little boss is facing out. All right, so I've got my tower assembly on here, I've got my bed nut and the rail here. So using our 3/8 by 1 inch hex bolt here and our 3/8 washer, we'll go ahead and run these through the bed nuts. And we'll go ahead and tighten these up just loosely so that this tower can still move. So I've got my second assembly up here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do the same thing. Running our 3/8 hex bolts through our chair brackets. So at the end of this step, we'll have all 4 of the chair brackets with hardware running through them, but everything's still loose, everything's still moving around. For our next step, we're gonna be installing the side plates. For that, we're gonna be using the 1/4 socket buttons, 1/4 nylocks, and our 1/4 inch flat washers. You'll notice the cutouts in the side plate. That's where the tower is going to be. So we're going to use this slot, and it's going to line up with these slots in the tower. Once you've got these 2 slots lined up, we'll go ahead and use our 1 inch socket button with a flat washer, just like that. And then on the other tower, just kind of rest that in there for the time being. And then on the back side, we're going to be using a flat washer and a nylock here. Just running that on, just super loose, just so that it's on there. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other tower. All right, so now that I've got the other socket button nice and nylocked on, go ahead and lift this out. Do the same thing right here. Got our socket button, washer on the back, and nylock. Maybe nylock. There she is. All right, so once you've got the bolts kind of ran loosely through the side plate, we just want to make sure the towers are about 38.5 inches apart. Looks like I've got it about 38 right now, but basically the goal is to just have the socket buttons centered in that slot on both towers. So this one's centered right here, but this one's kind of off to the right side. So we'll go ahead and move one of these towers so that it's centered, just like that. Cool, and once you've got those towers kind of where you want them, we'll go ahead and tighten down these nylocks and socket buttons all the way down. Just, again, making sure that tower is more or less centered in that slot. Not a huge deal if it's not perfectly centered, but we just want to get it close. So now that we've got the 2 towers on one side tied together with the side plate, I'll just go ahead and measure the distance between the side of the chair bracket and the end of the rail. So I've got about 1.25 inches right now. This Tacoma doesn't have the caps at the end here, so I can just leave it here. If you want to reuse your caps, this might have to move over a little bit, but I'm just going to measure 1.25 inches right here. and I'll match it with this side. Just like that. All right, so next we're gonna go ahead and throw in a couple of these extrusion crossbars just between the side plates here. So I'll rest one end on the other side plate across from me. And get this one close enough to run one of these 1-inch socket buttons through. Just like that. Thread it into the end there. Get another one. Okay, and then we're gonna go the other side and throw in a couple more socket buttons. Side plate right there. Gonna get that in between here and run in our socket buttons. All right. And just go ahead and tighten these all the way down. Just like that, and do that on both sides. All right, and we're just gonna do that with one more crossbar on the other end. Whoop. All right, so now that your PAK system is kind of loosely assembled, I just went ahead and make sure that the PAK side plate is flush with the top of the cab rack side plate. And that's just loosening up these nut locks right here, moving this up in the slots on the back of the tower, and tightening it down when it's flush. Next, we're gonna go ahead and just tighten down the 3/8 bolts that are running through the chair bracket in those bed nuts. I've got a 14mm wrench here. Just whoa, snug those up. Okay, and then make sure the tower's sitting level on the top of the bed surface. And if it is, which this one is, go ahead and just finish tightening up all those 5/16 nut locks.
Yeah, make sure you get that pumpkin in there.
Just make sure once you get all of them snug, just double check all the tightness. So now that we got the chair bracket all tightened down, we'll just make sure that the side plates between the cab rack and the PAK are flush. So I'll just go ahead and tug on a little bit till they're flush. That looks about good right there. And then while holding that position, I'll go in here and tighten down all the nut locks on these carriage bolts right here. And when you're tightening these down, just make sure once they're all snug, you just go back and double check that they're all tight. All right, so you've got 3 more crossbars left, so I'll just go ahead and throw these in any one of these slots up here on the side plate. Kind of just put them where it suits your load best. The more evenly distributed they are, the better, but as long as you've got them in there and they're not all stacked on top of each other, it should be good enough. We're gonna go ahead and throw on the braces now. For the standard brace or the XL accessory brace, you're gonna be using the same hardware. It's just 4 of these 1/4-20 carriage bolts, 1/4-inch washers, and 1/4-20 nut locks. Just as a reminder, this is our standard brace, but we're gonna be doing the XL panels today. So you're just gonna be taking your brace and putting it anywhere along the length of this tower. The goal here is to get at least 2 bolts running through any one of these 4 slots here. And you know, the more spread apart they are, the better. So I'm gonna use these 2, and I'll probably set this up right in that middle slot. So I'll take my carriage bolt, just run it through there real quick. Kind of let this other side rest for now. Get a washer, run it on the back. I got my nut lock here. Just run that on real quick, super loose. All right, we're gonna go to the other side. Same thing, got a carriage bolt through the bottom. washer, and a nylock. Just run that through. Okay. Same thing with the other two. And again, I could use that one, I could use this one. Probably wouldn't use this one if I don't have to, and I don't because I've got that lined up with the slot here. So I'll just go ahead and do these two. Washer and nylock. Cool. And then now that I've got this kind of loosely on here, I'll just kind of move this back and forth until it seems more or less centered. Looks good there. Go ahead and just tighten this up with my 7/16 ratchet. Nice and snug. For our rack height pack, we're going to be using socket buttons and T-nuts to attach the brand plate. For this specific install, we're going to be using the orange back plate, but you can also use the silver. It's up to you. So we'll do that. We've got our 1/4-20 by 3/4 socket buttons and the 1/4" flat washers. So go ahead and throw in your T-nuts into that back crossbar that he had there. And grab your brand plate and your back plate and line up the hole with that T-nut. Just go ahead and tighten it down. And then get that second one lined up. Same thing. And then just move that to where it's centered on that crossbar. For clamp style installations, we're going to be using these C-clamps. Notice how on the back here there's a little arrow that's pointing up, and then we'll also have edge trim on the bottom flange here. So just take it, make sure where you have the bed rack lined up, the clamp isn't hitting anything on the other side of the bed. Sometimes there's some clips, or on this Jeep Gladiator here, we've got a couple bolts right here. Just make sure that clamp's not interfering with any of that. Go ahead and take two of your 5/16 by 2" carriage bolts and just stick them in to those square cutouts there. And what we're going to do is kind of just maneuver them in behind that chair bracket. I'm pushing up on it right now. It's not hitting anything on the underside of the bed. And what I like to do is I'll just take my finger and kind of thread it through behind. So I'm holding up these carriage bolts like kind of up against this bottom edge of the bed. Go ahead and take two of my 5/16 washers, put them on there. Got some anti-seize. Just put a little pea-sized dab on there. 5/16 nylock nuts. Thread them on, just like that. Maybe spin it on a couple times, make sure that anti-seize is on there. Okay, then I've got a 13mm wrench here, and the goal here is to get that first one snug, just so that it's contacting the outer face of that chair bracket, and then do the other do the same thing with the other nylock here. If that bolt is spinning, just make sure that the carriage bolt is set in the little square slot in the C clamp. Okay, and then see, I'll loosen this one a little bit. So just make sure your C clamp is sitting flat, not diagonal like this. Ideally, it's sitting up right against the bottom edge of the bed here, and I'll get this one snug, that's snug, that one snug, that's snug. We think we finished the install here. What I like to do, just real quick, is give it a quick whack. And if you hear any rattling, that might mean you missed a step. Just maybe one of the fasteners are loose. So just kind of walk around, make sure it all just doesn't sound like it's rattling. And you're good to go. All right, that's been a PAK System rack height install. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to give us an email or a call. And thanks for watching.